I think I got triggered the other week about the Bert Newton story about him losing his leg.
Yeah, that's
right. He's on that list along with a couple other people that worked with him on Channel 9, Channel 10, pretty famous.
So just to clarify for anyone watching this that doesn't know who B. Newton is, he's a former TV host, a very big TV host here in Australia in the past. He used to host shows like Good Morning Australia and things like that, and Tonight shows as well. He's also big in the theatre world. So, it was pretty disturbing to see the likes of him on that list. And I know that he's apparently got an amputated leg, and his wife, Patty, she has also been seen on a lot of magazine covers in this past couple of weeks wearing a moon boot, which is an interesting thing. What's your take on that?
It's unbelievable. I can't believe, because I've been telling people about Bert Newton for years, and like for people, like you probably got listeners in America and stuff like that.
Yeah, all over the place. So we'll try and keep it relevant for them. Yeah.
So he's massive in Australia. He'd be like, I don't know what be the equivalent to. He used to host like the equivalent of like the Emmys or the Oscars, right, in Australia, or for years and years.
You wouldn't say he was a Letterman, but probably as big as that for here.
And he actually did. He did a eulogy to another man who's also on that video on the list, who's been accused of the same stuff, and also was accused of Bert palming his own son off to this guy, who's another entertainment mogul. And his son became a very famous actor as well too. And then he had his Matthew Newton had his big breakdown. But the point I was getting to was at the Logies, which is like a big awards night for entertainment.
Yeah, it's sort of like the Emmys for anyone listening that doesn't know. Yeah.
So he did a speech, a eulogy to Graham Kennedy, and he went up there and he just blatantly said, and this is about like putting the truth in plain sight. They do this sort of stuff, but it shows their arrogance too. And he says, Graham Kennedy really liked nurturing young talent. He goes, in fact, if he went to his room and the door was locked, you knew he was nurturing some young talent. He said that on the stage.
And people just laughed. Yeah.
They all laughed. I remember at the time I was like, oh my God, he just because they're basically saying, we know what he is and everyone else knows what he is. This is
I remember saying that.
But that's what they do. That's what they do. They put it in your face and they take the karma off of themselves. We know that this is how they operate. Just to let people know, Graham Kennedy, he was another TV host in Australia, big time. Again, up to that sort of perhaps comparable to your Jay Leno's or your Lettermans. Those kinds of people do Tonight shows, things like that. And very funny person. Like people loved him. They really loved these guys' work. I mean, they were funny guys back in the day for people that can remember them. So some disturbing stuff, isn't it, in that video?
And Don Lane was on there. They were like a trio, those three, for years.
Yeah.
And he was reported that he was under investigation for doing things with children, and that's why he fled back to America.
Right,
okay, yes, because he's American, yeah.
And what was the significance around the amputated leg, Dale?
Well, I mean, it can mean a lot of things too, but it is a Freemason homage. And whether he lost his leg or not, I don't know. He probably did. Who knows? He hasn't been seen in public. The whole story is probably bogus, but it's the symbology of the story. So the one leg means the person is in on it. So that would mean Bert is in on whatever they're trying to play. Now, if that's his own downfall, that means that he has agreed.
Right. Okay.
Based on the symbology, right, of the one leg or the missing leg. Which to me, it's interesting. Like, you can look at that in a lot of ways, but the way I interpreted that was that he squealed.
And what about his wife with her moon boot? How does that relate to it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we know the moon boots. It was unbelievable that they would put that story up, and people that know about Bert know that was quite interesting. And then the fact that she comes out with a moon boot, the moon boot really goes back to when John McCain was supposedly got bitten by his dog, and then he had the moon boot, and then he died a month later. And we've seen a lot of these moon boots.
Yeah.
So the last point was a lot of them are politicians, but a lot of them are judges. That's the most important bit. Yeah. And particularly, I can't remember if I even put him in there, but James Wood, who actually ran the Wood Royal Commission into police corruption, but it was into a ring, a child abuse ring. operating out of Sydney, and he was the judge that ran the Royal Commission, and he's on that list.
Right.
Speaking of the young talent, Graham Kennedy was always the sort of man who nurtured young talent. He enjoyed giving young people a chance on television. He was a great mentor. He mentored a lot of young people. You knew that if you went to his dressing room and it was locked, he'd be inside doing some mentoring. Don Lane was a mentor too. He did a hell of a lot of mentoring.